A couple weeks ago, I actually fully recorded, edited, and everything a video talking about my constructive feedback regarding uniques and also my personal grievances with them as a whole. As somebody that's been playing the game an ungodly amount, I had a lot of opinions, which I'm going to share in this video, but at that time, I thought that the topic was pretty niche, and I felt, maybe they'll change some stuff leading up to the season, or even when the season hits itself, and maybe not that many people will really care about my opinion specifically regarding uniques. Since then, there's actually been quite a bit of drama, which I'll go over today, regarding the uniques, and I think now is more of a topical time than ever really to just talk about the uniques and things that I think really should get looked at, or at the very least get fixed leading up to the season. And I just have a lot of personal frustrations that I want to share with you guys. This video will be quite long-winded, but I just want to give my full opinion regarding everything. And honestly, I think the game could just be made like 10 times better if a lot of these things were actually addressed. If you don't already know about the drama, I'll give you guys a little quick recap and my opinion about some stuff, but the biggest thing here is the implication that it has on the rest of the game. The drama itself doesn't really matter that much. So basically what happened is on July 6th, they came out with this fairly sizable update, I guess, mainly just a ton of bug fixes. Nothing people care that much about, but the biggest actual gameplay implication here is that Helltide chests can now drop unique items. This effectively added a way to target farm certain uniques. So if you're somebody that is level 5,000 and you still have not gotten your Penitent Greaves, you can go to the Helltide, open up boot chests, and you have a pretty decent likelihood of getting your Penitent Greaves. Same thing if you're a druid trying to get your Tempest Roar with helmets or whatever. What this actually ended up turning into for a brief period of time was that sorcerers and barbarians, actually theoretically it should work for sorcerers, don't know if any sorcerers it did work for, but sorcerers and barbarians do not have unique helmets in their drop pool. So if you were to open up the helmet chest during the Helltide and you are on a barbarian or a sorcerer, again I don't know if any sorcerers got it, if a unique were to actually drop, boom, it would instantly be one of the uber uniques, being either Andariel's Visage or the Harlequin Crest Shaco item. This only lasted for about an hour or two, and about 142 accounts were able to get it, and as a result, they just temporarily disabled the uber uniques from actually dropping in-game while they're able to fix this. Overall, my opinion on whether or not these 142 people should get the item taken away, or if this should happen in the first place or whatever, personally, I don't really care. A lot of people are mad, and I can understand your frustration to an extent, but if you're one of these 140 people, it would feel unbelievably terrible to get the item taken away from you. And honestly, there's nothing competitive about the Eternal Realm. There's nothing crazy these people are going to go do with these items. The season comes out in like a week and a half, whatever. I do understand your frustration though if you're like, hey, this sucks that this guy got this and I didn't have a chance to get this. The reason that I don't really care, and this is kind of speaking to a larger issue, is that these items are so statistically rare, it's not even fair to call them statistically rare. It is an improbability to the magnitude that most people can't even understand. You literally have a higher chance of like winning the lottery 3 times simultaneously, and each time that you go to cash in your lottery ticket, you also got struck by lightning 3 times in a row. You're not going to get this. You're just not going to get it. So it's gotten to the point to where I have erased it from my memory. As somebody that's played the game for like 400 hours or something at this point, I don't even think about them. I am at the point where I'm apathetic about them even existing, which is why I don't really give a shit if people were able to, get lucky and they get to have a little bit of fun with the items. Good for them. I don't really care. But that is the issue, okay? I should care. As somebody that cares a lot about this stuff, and this whole video is an opinion piece, I care a lot about this stuff usually, and I'm at the point of pure apathy because the likelihood of getting this, well, it is not likely. It is impossible. It is literally impossible. So this topic has been beaten to death. Not going to talk too much about it. Basically, they need to up the drop rate on this, or there needs to be some sort of acquisition method that actually is reasonable. I was hoping that this would actually end up getting changed, but whatever. People have talked about this forever. These are just, in my opinion, asinine, just not dropping at all. I don't really understand. The point is just not fun, and nobody is pretty much ever going to get these items, so I don't really care if like 140 people got lucky and got it, whatever. My main issue is the actual gameplay implications that this problem actually caused. So basically, you were able to target farm uniques, right? For a brief period of time, you could target farm uniques. It lasted, I think, like 12 hours or something. And because they didn't know how to fix the uber uniques dropping, but they wanted to put them back in the game for some reason, even though nobody can get them, they could just take them out of the game and couldn't have said anything, and nobody would have known for, literal weeks because they don't drop anyways. But basically, that's not what I'm looking for. Basically what happened, because they couldn't fix the uber unique problem, they made it to where Helltide chests can now just have the chance to drop any unique, and they are not restricted to that certain spot. So if I'm on my druid trying to get a Tempest Roar, if I open up helmet chests, I'm not going to get a helmet unique anymore. I don't have a way to target farm. This is pretty impressive, and I don't want to completely shit on Blizzard because I would still like to be a Diablo partner, thank you very much. But it is very impressive that in the matter of literally like 14 hours or something, they implemented a very good change. They managed to cause a whole bunch of drama with people getting the items, and then they simultaneously basically remove the best change that they've made in weeks, giving people some sort of target acquisition when it comes to trying to get what they need. And they took it out of the game, and I made a video going over, hey, this is the best way to farm uniques, this is awesome. I was super stoked for this. I was really happy for this existing because I can log onto my sorcerer now, and I actually feel like I have a good chance of getting my raiment. A lot of you guys are like, hey, I might actually play my druid because I have a good chance of getting the Tempest Roar. As a result of the pseudo farming effectively being taken out of the game, we are right back to square one, where basically if there's a certain unique that you're trying to get, you're SOL, you just need to play the game an ungodly amount, and it is particularly rough when it comes to certain uniques that are literally build enabling, like the Tempest Roar. I cannot tell you guys how many people have come into my chat and said that they refuse to play druid because they don't want to be at the mercy of RNG trying to get this, or they're a druid player that's level 100 and has never gotten this item. I've only gotten this 2 times. I got very lucky though, getting this at level 37, but I have not looted another one since. As you can see, it says requires level 60 because I got it instantly. But I have a friend that literally had like 14 days played, and he just looted this item and just was able to actually set this build up. This is my single biggest problem with uniques, is the disparity in actually being able to get them. If I can get it for after playing like an hour, somebody else can play for literally hundreds of hours and never get the item. That is an unbelievably terrible feeling, and a lot of the time the power gated behind the uniques is simply not good enough to justify it being that difficult to go out of your way and actually target farm. Personally, I haven't been playing my Sorc a lot recently because I want the raiment chest, and my Sorc is significantly worse without that chest, and I don't know how long it'll take me to get it. It could take me 5 hours, it could take me 100 hours. It just isn't worth the time because I don't know if or when I'll ever get the item that is basically going to transform my build. It is incredibly rich that they basically added the change that I wanted them to add, which enabled people to realistically get their Tempest Roars, their raiments, whatever, and then effectively removed it 12 hours later. And now, when you go to the Helltide, instead of actually having a pretty good gameplay loop, is there Helltide up? I don't know. Instead of going to the Helltide and having a good gameplay loop of, okay, these are the 4 chests that I want, I'm going to open all of these, now you're over there sweating bullets, you gotta shoot some Adderall into your veins and try to get as many cinders as humanly possible, open up every single protection chest on the map, just foaming at the mouth, hoping that you get lucky and get your Tempest Roar or something. Honestly, just such a bad system. There wasn't any sort of target acquisition when it comes to getting your uniques, and they put it in the game and then they take it away. I don't understand. So that is my single biggest problem with the uniques. I wish they would just add back what they had, which is what I suggested weeks ago and what I've been talking about on my stream, which is a good idea. Just make it to where you can go out of your way to target farm certain uniques. The game isn't going to explode. I don't know why we are trying to gatekeep people getting these certain items. I think there's 2 different ways to design uniques, and I'm kind of going to pivot into my next point, is the power disparity between the uniques. So I think there's 2 different ways to design them. One way is where you have them be very, very rare, but they are not a massive damage increase for your character. They are technically best in slot, but they do not literally transform your build and enable the build to function. The reason that it has to function like this is if you have it be super rare, you run into the issue where there are people that just refuse to play Druid, or they play Druid and end up quitting before they actually ever end up doing the build that they want. They quit out of frustration rather than being happy because they got their build set up, because they're playing forever and it feels impossible to get the item that they want. So if you want uniques to still be really cool, which I think they can be, and still be really rare, all of the uniques basically need to be designed in a way where they are not build transformative, but they are technically best in slot and a damage increase. We're already too far away from this at this point, so I'm kind of just talking philosophically here. A good example for this is like Condemnation for Rogue. So basically this just gives you a damage increase, and if you want to play combo points, you're just going to do more damage by using this. This is not a massive damage increase because the stats on it are not ideal, but if you're playing combo points, this will speed up the gameplay a little bit here and there, and it will give you a sizable damage increase. But if you don't have this item, you're not like wanting to literally uninstall the game and roll off of Rogue and go play something that isn't unique dependent. It's not that big of a deal. But when you get a unique to drop, you're like, holy crap, that could be my Condemnation. And then you actually care about the item power as well because it is a weapon. So anytime that you're looking for one of these, you're searching for a higher and higher item power one, which I think generally would be a pretty good system. The other way to do this is make it to where you can actually target farm them, or they are not unbelievably rare to where you can pretty much design whatever unique that you want. The negative implication of this is that it won't feel as good when you get uniques if they're, super abundant, but then you're allowed to make ones that are particularly build transformative, such as the Tempest Roar, Raiment, Howl from Below for, Necromancers, whatever, insert unique here. We are already down the route of having a lot of uniques that are transformative to a degree, so I think at this point, they just need to re-add what they had, right? Kind of talking about this in circles. I want to talk about my next point, which is the power disparity between the uniques, and the fact that they are fixed rolls basically makes like 9 out of 10 uniques null and void the second that they drop. Even Condemnation, people had to go out of their way to do a crazy amount of math, and it is still worse in a lot of instances, even if you're using combo points, depending upon the current state of your character, how much additive damage you have, whatever. We're not going to go into the whole spiel, but the gist of it is a lot of the uniques are dropped with absolutely terrible rolls. A fantastic example of this is actually Temerity. Temerity is a unique particularly designed to be just for survivability, gives you a nice little barrier, which is cool. You can pair that with Conceited for some offensive capability, whatever. But the fact is that Temerity has ungodly terrible stats on it that even as a unique that is designed defensively, if you use this for defense, you are shooting yourself in the foot actively because the stats on it are so bad, and you don't have any say in what the stats are. You get all stats, potion drop rate, lucky hit, chance to heal, and healing received versus, damage reduction, damage reduction, damage reduction, damage reduction, damage reduction legendary. I don't know why an item like this exists, and that is pretty much a problem throughout all of the uniques. So it gets to a point to where you're actually apathetic about uniques dropping, and it's pretty much worst case scenario. It feels terrible because you're playing your druid, you're really hoping that a Tempest Roar drops, it's the only unique that you want, and then you're just getting hundreds of these like terrible items like Frostburn, Fists of Fate, whatever, that are just mathematically a significant downgrade because of a lot of the stats on them being fixed. A fix for this, I think, I don't think that you should be able to re-roll any of the or all of the stats, and I don't think that the stats should just roll at random. I think that would be dumb. I think a cool design of the uniques is that they have different rolls that is, outside of the possibility of normal items. I think they kind of break the mold, and it allows the developers to actually do something pretty cool with them. The Wind Force is a pretty cool example because, as you can see, it has ranks to the Impetus passive, which otherwise wouldn't really be possible. So I do think it is cool to have these uniques kind of break the mold in terms of what can actually roll on them. However, when you have them just stuck like this, mathematically they just aren't worth it. Personally, I would like to use the Ashiara's Conjar on my rogue. I don't think I have one on me, but basically we can look at Condemnation, right? Instead of getting vulnerable damage, crit damage, some sort of additive damage, we have basic skill attack speed, crit chance against injured, additive damage with dual wield. Like, it's significantly worse than just a normal weapon, and this pretty much plagues the majority of the uniques that exist in the game. Mother's Embrace would actually be a very good unique for almost any class, but the fact that it doesn't have vulnerable damage and doesn't have crit chance basically means it is dead on arrival. So, a fix for this, I think, just let us reroll one. Just let us reroll one stat, and then we might actually use this item, for example, because we're not missing 35% damage from missing the vulnerable. And if we want to get super crazy with it, maybe make it to where we're allowed to reroll one of the other stats with like a crazy amount of materials. So we can reroll 2 things on unique items particularly. So we reroll the one thing and it's like very expensive to reroll it the first time. And then maybe, this is kind of getting out of the box and not really necessary, but I do think it would be cool to kind of have like you could reroll a second stat, but it costs like 100 Baleful Fragments, 100 Forgotten Souls, and like 10 million gold or something unbelievably ridiculous. So maybe if you're trying to farm out a Condemnation or something with some sort of target acquisition, okay, if you get a lot of these to drop, maybe if you get one that's like 800 item power versus like 810 or it doesn't have a very good roll, you're like, I'm going to wait to kind of like super upgrade this one until I get a higher item power one, which makes the unique chase actually a thing. So we're not chasing these items that are impossible to get. We're chasing items that actually exist and actually they could be good for our build rather than just, hey, Lamau, look at this amulet with the terrible effect on it and it has literally the worst stats I've ever seen. It's pretty much all the takes that I have for this video. I think if they just made it to where you could do some of the things that I mentioned, or there's some sort of target farming that exists in the game, I think it would be better. Real quickly, I wanted to end the video by giving a pretty hilarious example being the Grandfather. The Grandfather is an uber unique that exists in the game, but because it is a unique, it is fixed in the way that it rolls. Actually, I'll go over the max roll calculator so you guys can see the actual stats. So here is the Grandfather. Everybody thinks that this item is technically going to be best in slot for Barbarian, and real quick I want to go over something pretty funny. The Grandfather, because it has fixed rolls, you may actually want to use this for like survivability purposes, but because it has fixed rolls, the unique effect is actually really good, giving you 100% multiplicative increased crit damage. So if you crit, you basically deal double the damage. However, it takes up a two-handed legendary slot. It has 84% additive damage added on it, which is actually not that bad for an additive stat, but that is additive damage. It has max HP, which is good for survivability, and has all stats, and all stats isn't really all that bad anyways. Let's quickly compare that to a normal two-handed sword. I'm going to be talking about Hammer of the Ancients here because for Whirlwind, you may actually want to use this because Whirlwind technically can get close to 100% crit chance, but Hammer of the Ancients, objectively the stronger build at the moment, can't get 100% crit chance, so this crit damage is not really 100% extra damage. If it were to even roll like this, you could easily get this to drop, and the crit damage rolls like 60%, so then if you have 50% crit chance, that's basically 30% extra damage. Let's just assume though you get a maximum roll, and your crit chance is on the higher side, let's say 60%, so effectively this gives you 60% extra damage, alright? Well, guess what? You're losing an entire legendary aspect, and the two-handed one, which most people like to put Limitless Rage on, as well as the Hammer of the Ancients one on the other one. So Limitless Rage, I guess, is what you would lose, and then you'd put that on a different slot. So you lose some legendary aspect that is damage-oriented, but at the very least, you lose a two-handed slot. So this would be effectively twice as less powerful, and this gives you effectively 30% extra damage if you make sure to stack up all the Fury, which is pretty easy. So already, we just lost 30% damage by equipping this, which we do gain back, right, because of the actual unique effect. But we lose 70% vulnerable damage in favor of max HP. We lose crit damage in favor of, I guess, ignores durability loss. And we lose strength in favor of all stats. So basically we lose like 80 strength. All stats is actually quite good, so I won't complain too much about the all stats. And we trade our additive damage for 14% more additive damage. Losing 70% vulnerable damage plus a legendary slot plus crit damage to gain a bit of a crit damage multiplier, which is good, which actually could roll bad on an uber unique item, an item that literally does not drop. For this to be even like a question of if it's mathematically better or not to use this, which I'm almost 100% certain for Hammer of the Ancients, it is actually a downgrade to use the Grandfather, just because of the value proposition of losing all these other stats. That is hilarious. I don't know what speaks to the unique issue more than that, but if you're able to just re-roll the ignore durability loss of vulnerable damage, you'd probably be chilling. Not 100% sure. For Whirlwind, this is probably an upgrade, but if you get it to roll at a 60% roll, Lamau, probably not better. Anyways, that's it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please ensure to drop a like, and just let me know your thoughts in the comments down below regarding uniques, how you feel about them, and how many of you guys have re-rolled off of Druid, or re-rolled, or just stopped playing the game in general because you're not able to get the unique that you're interested in, and also because you keep getting Frostburns and Mother's Embraces and all this crap that is just dead on arrival because the stats are locked and stuck with what they have. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.